Lee County school system. When I look at the students, when I go to the schools, and I see their faces, I realize just how much school means to them. For the parents and the students sitting before us, we are so proud of your accomplishments and everything that you do every single day in your schools. And Lord, we ask a special blessing on our students as they prepare to take the end of course, end of grade milestones, exams that will kind of determine what all they've learned this year. And we know it's a lot because our scores are so good. And Lord, I ask a special blessing on the teachers that have worked with these students diligently through the entire year. Be with them, bless them. And for all the staff that guides, and for everyone that brings our kids to school and keeps our schools so clean, we say thank you to them, Lord. And Lord, as we make decisions tonight, help us with your guidance to make the best possible decisions for our students. Lord, we thank you so much, and we love you for today. Amen.
You have today's agenda before you. There are no modifications. We can adopt by consent. At this time, Dr. Truitt will give this evening's welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board and community members. Excuse me. Welcome to our April meeting of the Board of Education. It is very hard to believe that it is already April. I hope everyone has had a restful spring break and are ready to finish the school year strong. This past week was an opportunity for Lee County to celebrate their assistant principals. And we are lucky to have so many great leaders serving in those roles. I would argue that it is one of the most challenging and difficult roles in the organization. At this time, I would like to take a minute and recognize that our community has experienced a tremendous loss this past few weeks. If we could take a moment of silence to celebrate the life of Bryce Driver, husband, father, and son, and pray for his wife Hannah and their 2 small children. If we could take just a moment of silence. Thank you. In addition, tonight we are wearing purple to celebrate the month of the military child. As a school system that has the honor of educating so many military families, we are proud to recognize the sacrifices and hardships that children with military parents experience, all so that those parents can serve and protect our great country. From Lee County Schools, we want to send a sincere thank you to your sacrifice, and we are proud to have you call Lee County home. Thank you again for joining us this evening, and we are looking forward to a great meeting. Tonight we have a very special guest that I would like to invite to come to the front. Tonight we are joined by Mr. Jerry Conley. He is an audit manager too for the Georgia Department of Audits, and he would like to make a special presentation. Mr. Conley?
Thank you. I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of y'all's floor meeting tonight. And back in 2024, the Department of Audits created an award program recognizing those entities that we audit annually who do go beyond the financial business practices and are best of the best. These awards have several requirements, including timely and accurate financial statements, supporting documentation, financial personnel ready to answer questions of the audit team, no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, and a clean and unmodified opinion. Our department conducts 143 financial audits a year, and in 2023, so far, we have issued 32 of these awards. And it is with great pleasure that we award Lee County Board of Education this award. Your financial staff does an outstanding job, and we want you to know how fortunate you are to have them on your team. School districts like y'all's are ready and prepared for their annual audits, makes our work a lot easier. So congratulations.
Just thank you very much, and thank you to Mr. Kelly and the incredible team in our finance department, and thank you to the board for your guidance in all of this work.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Dowling to lead us in celebration of some additional accomplishments by our students. Mr. Dowling.
Good evening, everyone. This is April's recognitions, student recognitions, and it's become quite a fun little activity to do every month. You know, usually board meetings, in the old days board meetings, we were lucky to have 10 people, and if we had a full house, it usually wasn't for a positive reason. But lately, having full houses have been for very positive reasons, and this is just it's a testament to our schools and to our kids and to our parents, as well as to our teachers. So without further ado, let me get moving on here. Let's see, get the first ones out. The first ones we're going to talk about tonight is HOSA. HOSA Bowl is a teamwork competitive event where a team of 4 students competes against other students in the state of Georgia, answering questions on various topics and situations in health, HOSA, and parliamentary procedures. There are 2 rounds. Round 1 is a written test, and the top scoring teams advance to round 2 and enter into a 16-team elimination bracket. In that round, members give appropriate responses to questions in a buzzer-style round. To prepare for the State Leadership Conference in March, students begin as early as September to thoroughly study textbooks, articles, and other online resources to gain knowledge. Congratulations to the following students for their achievements at the state level, and if you would please hold your applause to the last student is called. We're going to call him up here. This is for, this first team was first place in the state, so not too shabby. George Waldrop, come on up. Jai Tasaha. Miriam Nicholas. Danica Stewart. And I think that was the team that was first place in the state HOSA competition. So congratulations. Stay there, don't leave, because Miss Yolanda is going to want to take a picture of you guys, and she has to do that. So this next group weren't too shabby either. They were second place in the state, so pretty good. Rooks Duke. Yolanda, you're the one that broke this. Katie Williams. Chantis Billings. And Zoe Kirkpatrick. And again, first and second place in the state.
Board members, if I can have you step on top of the dais, please, and then I'll have our HOSA members right in the front of the podium. Or
I know there's 2 more hosters, right? We did the teams, but there's 2 more.
I'll get the teams.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, everyone, here we go. 1, 2, 3. You're fine. You're fine. 1, 2. They're in your windows. And 1 more. 1, 2. And Dr. Hancock.
Pause for 1 second. 1, 2. Y'all are beautiful.
Thank you, guys.
All right, continuing with our HOSA students, clinical nursing provides members with the opportunity to gain knowledge and skills required in the nursing field. This competitive event consists of 2 rounds. Round 1 was a written multiple choice test, and top scoring competitors advanced to round 2 for the skills assessment. And that event aims to inspire members to use critical thinking skills and be equipped with an insight to treat patients in a clinical setting. The other one, nursing assistant, aims to inspire members to learn more about the field of nursing and how to provide quality care. So we had 1 student place 4th in the state in clinical nursing, and another student placed 5th in the state for nursing assistant. So 4th in the state for clinical nursing was Lily Suber. And 5th in the state, 5th in the state for nursing assistant was Simone Solomon.
the board members, please. You can split Mrs. Lang and Mrs. Ford. Perfect, that's perfect. In the middle, in the windows is perfect. Okay, 1, 2. 3, thank you. Any parent photos or is that
I'm trying to jump over really fast.
1, 2, 3.
All right, moving over to DECA. Lee County High School took a team of students to compete at the DECA Region 10 competition held in Columbus. The team won the award for first place overall chapter, and this was the first time that LCHS competed in this new, much larger region. Marketing students from LCHS and throughout the state took DECA Georgia-only tests to evaluate their competency in buying and merchandising. LCHS DECA had 4 of the top 16 student results in the state, each scoring in the top 3.5% of all those testing in the event. Mackenzie Doss received the 3rd place trophy at DECA State CDC and qualified to attend the International DECA Conference. So congratulations, Mackenzie, come on up.
Thank you, kids.
I didn't realize we were doing them individually, sorry.
Okay, moving over to athletics. We had a wrestling state tournament and we did pretty well there. Lee County, which near and dear to my heart. So Lee County qualified 8 wrestlers for the state tournament this year and placed with 3 of our more experienced athletes. We'll read their accomplishments off and then we're going to invite them all up at the same time. So if you would, when I do call your name, go ahead and stand up for me just where you're at. So Dominique Vigil is a junior and is our heavyweight wrestler. He qualified for the state tournament last season and this year he competed and finished 5th in the heavyweight division. Weston Bryan, I think Weston's probably baseball practice, isn't it? Yeah. But Weston Bryan, we'll talk about him for just a moment. He's also a junior and he wrestles in a 215-pound class. Weston is now a 2-time state placer with taking 5th up there. And then there's Alex Tabb. Alex Tabb is Lee County's first 4-time state placer. Now what that means, folks, is he placed in the state wrestling tournament freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. First time it's ever happened in Lee County state history. Lee County history, not state history. Alex qualified to place the state tournament every single year of high school. He's been wrestling since 6th grade. And he attends club practice and period during the off-season. His hard work and dedication to the sport of wrestling is an inspiration to his teammates and to his coaches. So congratulations, Dominic, Weston, and Alex. Come on up.
Ian's not a wrestler.
Ian was a wrestler.
He was. Y'all gonna hang out over there?
Yeah, if you, I was like, if you want, I can do that. I know, he's so
The
tall.
one guy that can shadow me.
Got it? All right,
See?
perfect.
This is it. This is it.
I know, I'm trying to get the.
Get him
Will
to
you-
the right, to the right.
Alex,
To the right?
Kind of in the
Sir,
center.
this way.
Come on, sweetheart.
Come down to my left. Thank you.
There we go.
You may need to step over.
Stand on this.
That looks at least better than it was.
1, 2. 1, 2. Yeah, you good. Thank you, guys.
Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about swimming, and if you followed anything with swimming for the past 10 years or so, you've heard this girl's name because she's been lighting it up since she was probably old enough to walk. Landry Liston, she swam in, of course, the GHSA state swimming meet, and she placed 4th in 100 breaststroke and 5th in the 50 free. So, and Landry, I know, swims more than just those things, but those are two. And again, just to place up there as a junior the place up there, just to make it up there is pretty sporty because you have to have a qualifying time. And then to place up there, that's putting yourself in some rare air. So Landry's kind of our swimming celebrity, and so congratulations, Landry Liston, looking for even better things next year.
One, two.
Out there.
Actually, it was so good.
In the first item of business, the board needs to approve the minutes of the March 11th, 2024 regular business meeting, as well as the minutes from the award training held on March 25th, 2024. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? May I have a second? Are there any questions or corrections from the board? Being none, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. In the next item of business, the board needs to approve the month-end February 2024 financial report. Dr. Truitt, are there any comments regarding the financials?
Madam Chair, members of the board, I make the recommendation that the financial report as submitted be accepted for the month of February 2024.
May I have a motion to approve the February 2024 financial report as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve.
May I have a second? Are there any questions from the board regarding the financial report? Being none, I have a motion and a second to approve the month-end February 2024 financial report as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is the portion of the meeting that we set aside for members of the public who wish to address the board on any issues of concern. There were no requests to speak at this evening's meeting. As such, it is necessary at this time for the board to adjourn into executive session to consider personnel matters. We will reconvene at the conclusion of the executive session. May I have a motion to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent? May I have a second? Okay. Any further comments from the board? Being none, it has been motioned and seconded to adjourn into executive session. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We're currently adjourned into executive session.
final closeout documents and warranties. Moving on to SPLOST, our SPLOST collections for the month of March totaled $471,245.29. That's a little bit up from last month. Library funding, you will also find on tonight's consent agenda a request for continuation of funding for the Lee County Library System. The library system is a key and integral part of our literacy and education efforts. I recommend when this comes up that this funding is approved. Madam Chair and members of the board, I invite Katie Peppers to share with us our findings from our RFI, Request for Information for Instructional Materials in K-12 Mathematics, Science, and 612 ELA resources, and a request for modification for the middle school day. Mrs. Peppers.
Madam Superintendent, Madam Chair, and members of the board, thank you for allowing me to highlight 2 items from teaching and learning. Throughout the many listening sessions, review of data, review of current instructional materials, multiple walkthroughs, observations, and conversations with teachers, parents, and administrators, there is a need for instructional resources in the following subject areas, as mentioned by Dr. Pruitt. I want to first share an update with you. As mentioned in the February board meeting, we formed an advisory committee to review our instructional resources. Many stakeholders were involved with that, including teachers, paraprofessionals, parents, and administrators. We had teachers from every subject and every school represented. I want to thank our advisory committee, which worked well to share and gain information with our peers. In February, this advisory team met to discuss the potential publishing partners that responded to the request for information. We narrowed the list to 3 possible partners that were able to meet the criteria set forth in the request for information. The 3 eligible publishers were available for families, teachers, and community members to review and offer feedback. We had 160 completed surveys, and 1 potential partner stood above the rest. The advisory committee, with representatives from every school, agreed that this partner needed to support the Lee County school system. Looking at the timeline, we are prepared to submit a request for purchase of instructional materials as outlined later in the consent agenda. I recommend the acquisition of instructional materials in digital and print from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt HMH for K-12 Math, K-12 Science, and 612 ELA for the upcoming 24-25 school year. The proposal includes professional learning for teachers, as well as 6 through 12 English language arts, digital access for students and teachers, print textbooks for students, and teacher manuals. With K-12 Math, this will be digital access for students and teachers, print student practice booklets and homework journals for students in K-5, print student books for 6 through 8, print textbooks for students in 9 through 12, and teachers manuals for all subjects. In science, we will have digital access for students and teachers and print textbooks for students in K-12 as well as teacher manuals. We also will have K through 3rd grade Amira digital access for students and teachers. After lengthy negotiations and working with the partner, we saved 57% off the original quote. The cost for the high-quality instructional resources for K-12 Math, K-12 Science, and 612 English Language Arts in both digital and print is $899,446.45 to be paid through ESSER funds. Your consideration of this recommendation is greatly appreciated to provide consistent, equitable resources to our staff and students. Finally, moving on to the middle school instructional day. In conclusion, I would like to share the proposal for increasing the extended learning time from 35 to 45 minutes for both middle schools, adding 10 additional minutes to the student's day. This would not impact the teacher's workday. 10 minutes would be added to the beginning of the school day with a start time of 8 o'clock and an end time of 3:05. They've already worked out with transportation so that will not be impacted. This change will allow students 10 additional minutes during extended learning time so that students could, we've adjusted schedules to serve 35% of our student population through the remedial education programs instead of 25%. We also will provide acceleration time for those teachers and students working in those content classes, expanding STEM and creating high school classes with intro to software technology. This will also allow for the drama program to not have a gap between the elementary and the high school, and incorporate financial literacy, which they all need, and communication and public speaking in classes in 8th grade, as well as preparing students for the academic-based competitions like Model UN and Fine Arts, anything that has local, regional, or state competitions. Thank you for the opportunity to share our progress and for your continued support as we work to increase academic success in Lee County. This is all I have prepared.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes what we have prepared and are available for questions. Any questions on this portion? Okay. Madam Chair, members of the board, I invite Kevin Dowling to share with us the proposed school year 24-25 student handbooks and code of conduct for public review.
Good evening once again. This is the first presentation of the 24-25 student handbook and code of conduct. Go ahead, Jen. I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but code of conduct has we have three different handbooks / code of conduct, codes of conduct. One for grades K through 5, one for grades 6 through 8, and one for grades 9 through 12. And that allows us to kind of gear each one toward kids in that grade level, and not, have a whole K-12 thing for all of them, where 2/3 of it is stuff that they don't really know, or the parents kind of get confused about. So moving on. The revisions that are in the code of conduct, the range is again built into the structure of discipline, which we'll show you a fixed copy of that, what we did last month, excuse me. That shows the minimum and maximum consequences per level. We have added level 4 for grades 6 through 12 in the consequences area. These are for very serious offenses. Pretty much they go straight to a tribunal hearing. Each level, each one of these handbooks have district level guidelines, and then they also have information that pertains to their school level items and guidelines. So the idea there is that instead of 10 different school or program handbooks, we have 3. And so we have one that should cover all of, and the principals did a great job of this, the staff did a great job of putting things together so that you don't have a handbook for KPS and LCPS and LCES and TOES. You have the student handbook code of conduct for grades K through 5. And the principals, they did a great job from the lowest to the highest of in their grade levels with their partner schools. To come up, they had to make some adjustments here and there, but they did a great job of putting things together so that what we have in here will cover students at that level. If a child is a freshman in high school, that 9 through 12 code of conduct / student handbook will cover them from 9th grade all the way through 12th grade. So that, I think that's been a really big plus for that. Like I said, schools have worked together to do this, so we have district-wide handbooks per level rather than per school. And this was a quote we said before, but I just kind of wanted it there to make sure we all understand we are committed to creating environments where all students can learn. We're very committed to that. And some of the, we increased we increased the consequences a little bit in the code of conduct. I don't mean increase like all of a sudden it's ISS for being tardy or something, but what I mean is that we're not going to have, we're not setting up a thing where there's going to be 20 different referrals before the child is ever considered for anything. We're going to try to meet them after a few times, try to get their attention, try to get their parents' attention, and then we're going to try to work with them, try to support them. But at some point, and it's going to be very a lot quicker than it was before, we're going to move forward with, maybe we have to do something a little bit more serious. So, all right, moving on. The process, just a reminder of what we did. We met with an advisory group back in December of 23 and January 24, and they're the ones that kind of started the split into 3 different groups for the codes of conduct. February through March, we did a lot of editing and got a lot of feedback from our advisory and from principals, and principals have done a lot of the heavy lifting here in the last month or so. I've sent it out to them. They've come back with it. These are pretty large documents, so sometimes they find a typo on page 32, and then the next time they find a typo on page 45, because it's hard. When you read all that at one time, it's tough to do that, but we've put it back and forth a few times. They did a great job of going through it for us. And we made changes to it. So the first presentation is tonight. After tonight, we'll start the public feedback time period, and we'll do kind of what we did before. We'll put links to the codes of conduct on the website, and we'll put out that email address. Ms. Yolanda will put out that email address for folks to email and give us their honest feelings. I mean, they can just write as they will. So they might be, you have a typo on page 54. It might be, what about this instead of this? I mean, we've had some really good feedback from the public, and this is for anyone, parents, teachers, students, community members, and that will go on until May the 3rd, okay? After May the 3rd, we'll compile what we have, we'll make some final edits and final adjustments, and we'll have a final presentation at the May business meeting. So we kind of looked at this last month, but here I just showing you that we made some of the, somebody had said something about, well, when you put that slash there, it kind of looks like an or, so do we put the one in, or the and for those, and so we added those to all the different consequence areas, but that's an idea of the minimum and the maximums for the violations. So, and then finally, just a big thank you to our advisory committee members. They're all up there, several assistant principals, some teachers, a lot of administrators, and then again, all building and program leaders. Thank you guys for all the feedback that you gave before this first presentation. So, and I think that's all I have. Unless I have another page, which I don't think I do. So.
Any questions?
I did. I like the way you defined the perimeter of the bus and how the consequences would be assigned. I'm not positive in the past we said if you're standing off the bus and there is an altercation that we have, the jurisdiction over that. And I like the way that read because it was so comprehensive about the bus. And they get to school and stuff, but sometimes parents don't understand the bus. So
Yep.
I was proud of that. I liked the way the chart was designed to show the violations. So it was specific, and then you define the consequences, for all those different areas. And I thought that was good. I did have just a tiny question. K through 5, one of the consequences for the severe behavior was a referral to TLC. Is that an option?
I don't think we wanted to say TLC, but I think we did talk about a possible, and
Tribunal.
we're still in discussion about how that looks, but could there be a tribunal for, a younger child who is just off the chain? And that doesn't mean necessarily we're gonna put them at TLC. It might be that, okay, what do we need to do? Obviously, what we're doing is not working. So what do we need to do that might be a little bit more severe, or something that might be a little bit more get your attention? TLC for a third grader, not necessarily an option, but there might be some other options that we're considering and talking about that might be something as a deterrent.
To the tribunal as a process, not necessarily an assignment to an
Right.
alternative school. Does that make sense?
Because it said, the referral was on page 14. I mean, the moment where the TLC is discussed. And I do know that at one time, we did have an elementary TLC. And, we would use the current teachers to give the information, the textbooks, the assignments
Right.
to those over in TLC. But, so I didn't know if that was a continuing consideration to, possibly, but I do understand what you're saying.
I'll check that to make sure it doesn't, because I don't want it to say, I don't want a first grade parent to say, my child's gonna go, that's not our intent. But a process of a tribunal, sometimes we need to get their attention.
You're right, okay, thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair and members of the board, I invite Mr. Gary Kelly to join me to discuss our progress on the FY25 budget.
Good evening. I'm gonna try to get through it.
Gotcha.
Have you water?
Yeah, I am, man, to bring it up.
Yeah.
All right, we continue to build a budget for FY '25 that reflects the priorities established in our strategic plan, while ensuring we're developing a balanced budget that provides stability around the millage rate to our community and its long-standing commitment to excellence in public education. The first page is our timeline that, basically the state is finished in their part of the process, with the legislature finishing. But the State Department of Education will not get us allotment sheets until the governor signs. They just feel scared to send out an allotment sheet until the governor signs the budget. So what we're hoping for is estimated preliminary, things that you can't take to the bank, but they're pretty good numbers. So once we have that, then we will finish the budget, and the budget at the end of this month will become a preliminary budget that's presented to you in May. You have finished everything that we need for the budget up to this point, with the salary guides, the calendars, and other considerations. So I'm gonna hit that at the end. Right now, our budget priorities, again, the governor did propose, and the legislature approved the $2,500 increase for certified staff. The local teaching supplement was adjusted at the entry level and seniority steps at the end for 23, 25, 27, and 29. And what that means to y'all out there that's got the 20 years, when you get to step 23 on the pay scale, you can go no further with the state pay scale. What Lee County's gonna do for you is say step 23, 25, 27, and 29, you're gonna get another $500 every time you reach one of those. So it's a total of $2,000 at the end of the pay scale. I think that's a great thing for the school system to do. We've got to increase the non-certified base salaries, and then I'm gonna touch on health insurance costs in a minute on the next slide. Our additional expenditures, the state did pass along $1,580 per month per staff member health insurance increase. Well, the total's $1,580. It's a $200 and something increase. That means every employee that's a non-certified employee, we're gonna pay $4,600 more a year for their health insurance after next year. So that's about $964,000, but they split this, so we're only gonna have to pay $460 something because they implement it in January rather than for the whole fiscal year. It helps. Then the certified health insurance went up from the $1,580 to $1,760, I think. The state funds that, except for our local funded positions, so our local cost on that's gonna be about $140,000. Funding reassignments.
Okay, so funding reassignments is me. Additional funding has been dedicated to continuing our commitment to school safety by moving the SRO cost of one officer per school from our ESSER funding budget to the general budget, as this was a commitment that we made last year. These positions, as well as 2 literacy and 2 mathematics coaches, will be funded in our local budget for the FY '25 school year. The only positions not being transitioned are those that were hired with an understanding and a commitment that the position would be temporary to address the short-term learning gaps that students were experiencing during the COVID learning gaps. However, those employees, if they are interested, as additional positions open, they definitely can apply to participate in those positions. The next slide. Okay. The next slide is our commitment to staff allocations. During COVID, we did not adjust class size allotments based on student enrollment, and due to the influence of additional funding and the unique environment that presented itself during COVID, that was possible. As all districts across the country are facing the loss of not only COVID funds, but face additional potential losses due to actions that Mr. Kelly has just mentioned during the most recent legislative session, we had the opportunity to review our allotments and ensure that we were meeting prior commitments to good quality class sizes. This budget has been designed to give priority to reasonable class sizes, as well as to maintain the support provided by paraprofessionals which is not considered in allocations. And what you can see in this chart here is in red is the Lee County class size, and gold is Georgia's class size allowance. And consistently, we are either meeting or below Georgia class size. So we are committing to 17 in kinder, 21 in first and second, 24 in 3 through 5, and 28 6 through 12.
A commitment to student well-being. It was pointed out that we had some students returning from COVID that had faced some challenges, and what we've done to. I'm about to call.
We're facing, you want me to pick it?
If you do
Okay.
want.
So facing some challenges due to just some of the isolation and some of the experiences that they have. And what that really did is that started to impact our classroom teachers and our administrators, and really took them away from serving all students. And so what we're looking at in this budget is adding a behavior interventionist. This is not someone who's just going to walk the halls and, say, you do this and you do that. This is somebody who's going to roll up their sleeves when there's a problem in a classroom and get in and hands together help that teacher. Now, the goal will be to build up that teacher's repertoire, if at all possible, to make sure they have the interventions they need to successfully support that child. But if not possible, help the right avenues move forward so that ultimately the teacher gets support, the student gets support, and the rest of the students in the classroom can continue to learn.
Commitment to academic success. We have, in an effort to continue our commitment to academic success, the advisor Dr. Truitt's teacher advisories, the budget will reflect an increase of $11,375 toward academic supplements to teachers who are doing above and beyond in classroom responsibility and taking on other teachership roles. They reflect an increase for elementary department leaders. The supplements are speech therapists, and some increases for academic extracurricular sponsors. Commitment to supporting all students.
Yep. Through our state programs of early intervention and remedial earlier this year, we reviewed the manner in which we were supporting students and reviewing the number of students that were being supported based on the number of students who qualified for that support. The state of Georgia allows us to serve up to 35% of our students for support using criteria set by the local school system. Now, the state provides you a list to choose from, but the local school system sets the criteria in which those students are identified. We identified in this initial review that there were a few areas of opportunity. We were supporting students, but we needed to ensure that our data reporting to the state reflected the receipt of that support. In other words, students were being pulled for support, but it wasn't necessarily being documented in Infinite Campus. We had an opportunity to do that better so that we received funding for students who were already receiving support. We also had groups of students who met the state criteria for support, but they were not necessarily being served in either one area or both areas. And so we're committed to making sure that we follow through on that. And then many of our classes were not meeting minimum funding requirements for the state for funding. So in other words, we may have had a teacher who was supporting 3 students, but the state says there needs to be a minimum of 11 students in that classroom. And although this impacts the budget, the key here is that we are prioritizing student learning above all else. Basically, to make a long story short, we are identifying the students who need assistance, we're ensuring that they meet the criteria to receive that assistance, and then we're making sure that schedules make time so that kids get what they need.
A high quality workforce, and what the governor implemented, and then what we've implemented on the local level for teachers, I'd like to repeat, but also in addition to that, we increased all non-certified steps. Their pay scale was adjusted to make it $500 more. So in addition to their step increase, we want to give another $500. So that's all 400 or 500 non-certified employees can expect a step increase plus $500.
Oh, good.
High quality learning environments. We continue to monitor what we need to keep our schools, safe and clean and operating smoothly. Local cost to educate a child. I'll let you.
Okay. So we've talked about this slide before, but I think it is a story that I would like to tell with some real characters in it. And there is a real misunderstanding about the local cost to educate a child. So we've talked about before that if you do pre-K through 12 in the Lee County school system for one child, your cost for that right about now is about $47,058.62, just to be, an estimate. Thank you to Mr. Kelly. So if you have a home value of $250,000, you're paying into the school system about $1,700 per year. So it will just take you just a mere 27.68 years to pay for the actual cost to educate one of your children. So I thought this might be fun to use a real example. So Mr. Dowling has volunteered the Dowling family. So Mr. Dowling and his wife Kelly entered Lee County and they were 26. They bought their first home. They had no children, yet they started prepaying for the education of their children. Thank goodness, because if not, this was really going to get wild. So at 26, Mr. Dowling and Kelly Dowling start paying for their children. And before you know it, here comes Sarah. And so, good news, Mr. Dowling, you have paid for Sarah's education.
Thank God.
Okay. So he's off the hook for Sarah. But then they had Amanda. And so what we know is that Mr. Dowling will be 81 years old by the time he pays for Amanda's education.
I'm gonna start collecting from her.
Okay. So poor Amanda is looking for a bill. They also have I'm sure you've heard, Christopher, super smart in math, going to GHP. Mr. Dowling and Mrs. Dowling will be 109 years old when they finish paying for the education of Christopher. So just to, and we've made a little bit of
109?
109. So you gotta.
Kelly will make it.
So what we've done is what we're really trying to do is illustrate there is a misunderstanding that this is a one-for-one equivalent of how we pay for a child's education. A year's worth of property tax does not come anywhere close to paying for a year's worth of a child's education. This is an investment that we make in a community, the entire community. So when I'm paying taxes in Lee County, I'm paying for children moving forward, and at the end of the day, when we have an educated and we are producing well-rounded, successful graduates, we as an entire community benefit from that. Because I can promise you, a community that does not have an educated workforce does not have great value on their homes. And so that's kind of a back and forth situation. But we wanted to take a minute tonight to kind of walk through what that really looks like for a real family. So thank you for humoring us in that activity.
Okay, the next steps is it's all in my court right now to finalize and bring you a final budget. You will get that in May. It's a preliminary budget. It will sit on the table for a month, and we will have to have 2 budget hearings, and we'll set those times at the next meeting, and then in June, we'll hopefully have a final budget for your approval. Do you have any questions?
This proposed budget, is it gonna fall in our existing millage rate?
Yes.
I have a couple of questions. I just wanted to make sure I understood. For the positions that have not been transitioned over from ESSER into general, those individuals will have that opportunity to interview or be considered for open positions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anytime I can hire a 49% person, I will do it.
Okay.
I also had a question about supporting all students, and we were looking at about a 35%. Have we ever served all students?
I can't say ever. I can say that last year we didn't hit that 35% threshold, and there were some opportunities at different, at certain grade levels. Yes, we were serving everyone who qualified. At other grade levels, we had some opportunities to serve some additional students that had qualified for services. For instance, if you on the EOG in 8th grade score at the beginning learner level, you have and are eligible for support in ninth grade. And so, were we serving all of those students? No, but I want to commend our principals, commend them for really looking at scheduling and creating opportunities to make sure that we can sit here next year and say, if a student qualified, we worked really hard to make sure they had the opportunity for support.
And I know that with the preliminary testing that we do before a child enters kindergarten, one of the skills that probably semi across the board is lacking is comprehension. It's just a skill that has to be developed over the years. So even beginning in kindergarten, you know, we could look at those students that not only had comprehension, but, you know, sequencing some other skills that are significant in being able to read something with a level of understanding.
Absolutely, and I think that we're looking at making sure we're screening students early, making sure that we're looking at, and there are some timelines that have been established for supporting kindergarten students. We're giving us a few weeks to get to do G-Kids and to get those initial assessments, but then we'll look at developing those rosters hopefully by the end of September, and so that we're getting that early intervention right in place. Thank you.
I wanna go back and say something, but I haven't gotten a lottery sheet from the state. So what we will present to you is a budget that will not increase the millage rate. So if the state funds are less than what we've anticipated, then we would go back and adjust our budget accordingly. So no, the budget that we present to you right now should not, but if the state funds are lower, then we will lower the amount that we have in our budget to accommodate the state funds that we have.
I just was gonna, this has been an ongoing process, but I did wanna thank who all worked on reallocating the teaching positions and working with the classroom sizes so that we're maintaining the effective student-teacher ratio.
Yeah.
This has been an area of concern for the board, especially since the pandemic. We've been watching the class sizes and the teacher allocations. I will say that you all did an excellent job of keeping us in the loop and keeping us informed and listening to our concerns throughout this whole process, so we do appreciate the work that has gone in.
And congratulations on the audit award, because I know.
Thank y'all, and thank the principal too, cause they're involved in that one. Their school books are now audited by the audit department. And for the longest, the hardest thing was getting separation of duties, because in the schools, they really didn't have, so we had to be creative in getting separation of duties implemented in the schools. But Dr. Clay was very instrumental in making sure that we got that separation of duties in the school, and that was a big kick, and that came back from the board. I mean, so thank y'all.
Thank you, Gary.
That concludes my report.
Okay. Are there any further questions before we move forward? Okay. In the first item of business, the board has been asked to approve the personnel consent agenda. Dr. Truitt, would you like to comment on the current personnel consent agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, and members of the board, I recommend that the personnel agenda as discussed in executive session be accepted as presented.
May I have a motion to approve the current personnel consent agenda as presented? Second. Okay, are there any questions or comments from the board regarding the personnel consent agenda? Being none, I have a motion and a second to approve the current personnel consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Yes. I would like to take a moment to welcome 2 new team members to the Lee County team. Mr. Martin Gore has been named tonight as the Senior Director of Special Education. Mr. Gore joins the team with a wealth of experience. He is currently serving as Director of Special Education in Walton County Schools. He began his career as a special education teacher. He has served as an assistant principal, elementary school principal, and a high school principal. Mr. Gore, if you could please stand. Welcome to the team. I I would also like to welcome to the team Mr. Mitchell Darren Potts as the new assistant principal to serve at Kitchafoonie Primary School. Mr. Potts is joining us from Worth County. While in Worth, he served on their leadership team and led his content area through the transition of new standards this year. He has completed his leadership certification in the summer of 2022 and is working on his dissertation in curriculum and instruction. He has also served as the District Teacher of the Year this year. We are excited to welcome Mr. Potts to the team. Mr. Potts, if you could please stand.
In the second business item, the second final, the board is asked to approve the regular consent agenda. Dr. Truitt, would you like to highlight this evening's consent agenda?
Yes, please. Madam Chair and members of the board, you have been presented with a consent agenda containing fundraisers, overnight trips, facility use, and a modified schedule for middle schools. Non-certified staff employment recommendation list for FY25, as well as after-school program fee increase. This increase was outlined in your packet memo due to the increase in staffing costs, events, and food costs for the program. The fee for the after-school program is increasing registration from $25 to $50. The tuition from $50 to $60 a week, which is equivalent to, if you're looking for childcare, paying $4 an hour. Summer camp tuition increased from $120 to $150, which includes weekly adventures off campus and some really big and exciting trips. This change is needed to ensure fiscal sustainability for these programs. As well as you will find contract issuance for certified employees, the request for K-12 instructional resources funded through federal ESSER funds, allocated funds to the Lee County Library for FY25. There's no change in the amount, that's a yearly request, and the athletic trainer contract agreement for FY25. I recommend that the consent agenda be approved as presented this evening.
May I have a motion to approve the current consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board regarding the consent agenda? Okay, being none, I have a motion and a second to approve the current consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. On behalf of the board, thank you all for attending tonight's meeting, and if there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned.